I give mine without my pants and shirt on. I'm just...
Always.
What's that?
We are consent-based here. We believe strongly in consent. Excellent, thank you. Group hug? That sounds like a good start. All right. Hug it out. That was a different panel. It did involve Corman. That was actually the group awkward hug.
Not awkward. We're all friends.
Yeah. More or less.
Yeah. Or we will be at the end of this.
Yes.
Or not.
So is actually, anyone of you actually remember what the title of our talk is? I just remember there was booze and a debate thing. So.
Debate.
Booze.
Hugs. The hugs part of it. Actually, hugs was part of it.
Booze, hugs, and debates.
That's the base panel. That's not good grammar. Best way to say BSidesLV 2014. Nice and short time.
I'm going to
Excellent.
blame the British.
Well, I can guarantee there will not be any other debate panels, so technically speaking, this will also be the worst debates panel you'll see at BSides Las Vegas 2014.
Shot.
Okay, so before we dive in, I'm David Mortman. I'm your erstwhile moderator. My job is to more or less keep these guys in line. You've met them before, so you know that will be a vain task, but, you know, it's Wednesday afternoon and there's booze.
That's all that matters.
Jay? Introduce yourself.
I'm Jay Radcliffe. I am a researcher with Rapid7. I do a lot of hardware and hacking stuff and do a lot of community stuff. So I somehow got wrangled into doing this.
I'm Josh Corman. Can you hear me?
Oh, I was stepping on the mic.
Speak up.
All right. Josh Corman. I like to cause trouble, and I too am recently driving a lot of the community stuff through I Am the Cavalry, trying to drive safety into good stuff.
I'm Dave. Just here for the hugs.
I'm Jack. You all know me as the host organism for my beard.
Okay, so the way this is going to work is we generated the other day a bunch of ridiculous questions here, and each question, two of these folks are going to pick either a pro or a con. They're going to debate the point. Then you all get to vote. Whoever wins the vote for the best debate doesn't have to drink.
Is that winning?
Is that winning or losing? I'm not sure. They can drink if they want to. They just don't have to drink. So you can drink whenever you want in this panel.
Cheers.
Test 2, 3.
Or pretend to drink. I really don't care. So anyway, questions from the audience are welcome, as is, of course, heckling. But if you can participate in the debate if you want, but I don't think I'm legally allowed to leave you booze, so you have to bring your own. Sorry. Aww. Rob's ready. So. Excellent. Okay, so let's go with, let's see, our first question.
Are you randomly picking them? Or are you taking them off top of it?
I have a bunch here. I'm just going to see what crazy
And are we
questions I
selecting our positions, or are you going to assign positions?
Coin toss.
have.
We obviously had a meeting before this to discuss.
Well, actually, we had a meeting, but Dave didn't show up.
I was flying back from China, and
He was hugging pandas.
Actually, I'm going to make up the first question then.
oh god,
I'm going to let Dave take the pro, and I'm going to let Josh take the con here, which is China is an actual threat to us.
so I'm pro China as an actual threat to us.
You can make it interpret it as you will.
Listen, cyber kill chains, ABTs, it's everywhere, man. It's like they're Wait, I'm supposed to be for them, right? Or I guess that.
You're interpreting however you want. It's just whatever you say, Josh has to argue against. So,
All right, sounds good. I got nothing. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, if you look at the demographics, I mean, intellectual property, all the other stuff that we have here in the United States, big booming business, right? Because it's estimated, I think the FBI came out with this study that showed that we create about $3 trillion of intellectual property per year. And that's obviously something that other countries want in order to enhance and strengthen their own economies. So I don't necessarily see China as a threat when it comes to like core infrastructure because they pretty much own 90% of the United States anyway. But when it comes to what we actually produce here and what they actually need to actually continue their economy going forward, they are actively a threat. I mean, they're going after our manufacturing processes. They're going after how we're actually designing our new product lines that we're coming out with. Everything from the chemical formulas, recipes, to everything that makes us unique as an industry. They're continuing to go in and steal those things so they can boost their own economy. So I definitely see them as being a threat. And I think it's a lot different from here in the United States. National Security Agency, things like that are more on the defense and spying on everybody, including the United States people, than anything else. So, I mean, they're more active on defense versus stealing intellectual property from other countries and then giving it to us. So I think it's a different threat, but it's something that we definitely face here in the United States.
All right, I have 3 answers that I intend to lose so I can get my drink on. Number 1, they are not a threat because clearly in the history of global gross domestic product, several countries can actually double year over year without stealing, raping, and pillaging from the U.S. economy. There must be an alternative way in which they've doubled their GDP at an unprecedented rate. So it can't be stealing, and you have absolutely no evidence, and China's awesome. All right. America! All right.
I didn't realize Jeff Carr was on this panel.
All right.
Love it, by the way.
The second reason I will say China is not a threat is because they've already taken everything we're stealing, so they are no longer a threat. And I think I'll stop there.
Excellent.
Can I drink now?
Sure. Okay. Who thought Dave? Raise your hand if you thought Dave had the more compelling argument. Okay, and raise your hand if you think Josh had the more compelling argument.
Did you sponsor?
Those guys are rigged. They're rigged. They're going against me.
You can drink also, though.
I'm going to. I want to.
That looks tasty.
It's moonshine. Of course you got to do moonshine when you're on a debate, because if the people can't walk out, then it's been a good debate.
I'm waiting for you to say smooth.
Oh, it's not that bad. It's only 35% alcohol.
I did notice it was actually melting the glass.
I'm actually going to do another one.
Wait a second. On the label it says "Made in China."
They stole that shit. We had the best moonshine recipe in Kentucky, America.
Okay, so I'll let Jack and Jay do this, and then we'll start mixing things up a little bit more. Let's go with. There's no point in training users. You guys can wrestle over who goes which side on this one.
Is Bruce Schneider here?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I was checking. Oh, am I supposed to debate?
No, Jay and Jack are.
I'm going to cheat. I want to answer the other one more time. While China may be a threat, you guys can't even stop basic SQL injection. So, to your point, we should get better at basic web hygiene before we start worrying about Kung Fu Panda.
You should drink again.
Because that sucked.
It's burning in your stomach. It's amazing. I mean, it's a good burn. But.
I'm glad I put roofies in all of that.
Does that even constitute as a drink? He sipped it.
Are you?
I'll take that. We don't need to train the users.
You go first, and I'll rebut you as gently as possible.
Ooh, daddy. All right. So I don't think that training the users is going to help in any way, shape, or form. The users cannot be trained. They are pretty much a hopeless cause. They are the sheep. When we look at a lot of the major problems that we have, and Josh just mentioned one of them, SQL injection, users aren't using SQL injection. Users aren't using these significant problems that we see in web applications, in embedded devices. We want to say, oh, we'll train the users to use great passwords, but even those great passwords are still being bypassed in all kinds of ways. So you can give the smartest users the best training, and you're still going to get owned all day, every day. So why should we waste resources on doing that when we should be spending the resources doing the major items as opposed, that are actually affecting our security?
Like next-gen firewalls.
Yeah. And antivirus is dead.
Yeah. No, it's still good, man. It's got like a 2% detection ratio. We're good. It sounded like 1, we're fucked.
So, I mean, you make some points which have some validity depending on whether you are reaching for the correct goal or not, which in this case you're not. coworker of mine, Marcus Random, has famously said if end user detection or training was going to work, it would have worked by now. The problem is that we're looking at it as if it's going to solve a problem. There's nothing we do in security that solves a problem. It's all a matter of buying time. It's all a matter of moving forward. For those of you who've been in the trenches, are in the trenches, what you get from training users. Wait, for timeout first. Maybe, just once, we should try user training that does not suck.
Wait, the online CBTs?
That wasn't part of the debate.
The online CBTs where it has a PowerPoint slide and it's like, hey, don't click on things and hit next, and next you get to get test at the end. That's not the shit?
Yeah,
that's how I learned all my stuff. How do you think I coded set?
So here's what I came to believe in doing some kind of user awareness training. What you get is you get one or two people who will say to you, I think I screwed up. And you get a little heads up. You get one or two people in the company who you can say, hey, the shit hit the fan. I'm not answering my cell phone. You're fielding for me. And they'll say, oh, okay, because I understand. And it makes your job suck very slightly less. And that's a good day for us, is sucking very slightly less.
So you're saying that I'm right, except for it just makes it slightly less suckier.
That's our goal, though. I mean, like I said, we haven't come up with anything that solves a problem yet except alcohol.
I'm pretty sure the kill chain does.
Good point.
So speaking of alcohol, that's an excellent segue. Thank you, Jack. People who think Jack's argument is most compelling? Let's see some hands. Okay. Jay and Jay.
Fucking users.
One thing I will say though on education awareness though, I mean. Anybody see the Bruce Schneider blog that he did about education awareness? Anybody ever see that?
No.
So he came out with a blog post that basically said education awareness shouldn't be done, and it should be done through attrition through our product lines and security, which to me I think is a complete facade, because I worked in a company, I was in a Fortune 1000 company that had no security whatsoever, and one thing that security did for us, aside from people not clicking shit as much, they still click shit obviously, but from less clicking stuff, is that it promoted a security culture.
Yes.
And so once we had that security culture, for me to implement things like two-factor authentication, which, oh my God, or, NAC or stuff like that was expedited, years in advance, because the people understood why we were doing it. So they're like, oh, hey, you're doing this to protect me personally, right? You're protecting myself, and you're making sure that I'm not getting hacked. Thank you. And I get people that, you walk into companies and the security's like the redheaded stepchild, where everybody hates them and they want to, they're the roadblocks in the company. It's conversely different when you actually educate the users on why you're doing it. And I mean, we got stuff like Heartbleed, right? I hate using the word, but, Heartbleed was phenomenal because, I had my grandma who doesn't even own a computer asking what the hell Heartbleed was. We have to capitalize on that and use it to our advantage. And that's where education awareness comes in, not just from to stop clicking stuff and phishing, but just to drive our security program forward a lot faster. So I love that topic.
And if you want good...
I'm going to drink too.
And if you want training that doesn't suck, Andy Ellis has an amazing program at Akamai. Bob Brutus had an amazing program at Liberty Mutual, and Stephen Bonner had an amazing program at KPMG. If you give up on the user, you've given up.
Trusted Sec, by the way, does training. I don't know who that is, though. I mean,
I'll go fishing. Yeah. Since Dave brought up Heartbleed, excellent.
That was it. Sorry, I just saw.
Since you brought up Heartbleed, it seems to me that branding vulnerabilities is the new hotness. If you don't have a logo, you don't have a vuln, right? I mean, I think that's part of what made Heartbleed sexy.
It was visual.
It was visual. It was a great heart. It was a great logo. In fact,
it was a great marketing campaign because, I mean, you could visualize a heart bleeding.
Wow.
You seem real broken up about that.
I'm not joking. I'm already starting to buzz a little bit. So
okay. I'm gonna let you guys choose who's gonna argue this one. The argument here is that
I'll be pro Heartbleed.
Okay. Well, actually, that was enough about Heartbleed. Companies don't care if they're breached or not, as long as it doesn't make the news.
How do we debate anything other than, yep, next?
Well, but I think there's a key point to that, though. I mean, if it impacts their customer base, and i.e. revenue, then they have an issue. I mean, I think just because it doesn't make the news doesn't mean that a company doesn't care about it. I mean, they care about what hits their profit margins. They care what their brand looks like in certain areas. And for a lot of companies, brand reputation is pretty big.
Yeah, but does it affect their brand reputation? Target just got completely annihilated, and their stock is better than ours.
It's not true. It's actually not true. They're actually going through some major turmoil inside. In fact, they let go of their CEO. The CIO got let go shortly afterwards. And it's partly because of the Canada expansion as well. They're having a lot of issues with expansion in Canada as well. But they're actually having a really bad quarter. They've had bad quarters since the breaches themselves. And I don't know about you guys, but my wife won't go to Target. It's not because of me, but my wife won't go to Target because of it. I know family members that won't do it because of it. I mean, it impacted them pretty hard, and it's going to continue to. Put them out of business? No. But, I mean, they're feeling it. Your wife's cash only. That's good.
Yeah, but they're actually an outlier because you look at like TJX, and I mean TJX was not. I may sometimes be a bit cynical, but
drink. You can't lie on stage, sir. I'm calling you out, and you need to drink.
But everybody in this room, I bet, has dealt with let's just say large companies where they really do have that attitude, and small companies that don't know any better, and then it's kind of in the middle where we try to make progress.
If it wasn't for the hack, though, every now and then they wouldn't do fucking anything.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree.
I know our company and other companies that step their game up just because of Target. Nothing to do with Target. It's like that's got to happen every now and then, or complacency just sets in everything.
In the dark ages, when I actually worked for a living and like ran networks and defended them and shit, I loved it when a new worm or virus broke out because that meant I told you so budget provisioning.
But you look at the retail space.
Sweet. I'm not sleeping for the next 3 nights, but then I get a firewall.
Look at the retail space in general. I mean, EMV's predominantly made it across a large majority of the globe already. We're still one of the only ones that are still not using EMV. So all the hackers have moved here, right? And so we're seeing a lot of breaches happen on the credit cards. Now all the retailers are freaking out because of Target. And now I can't tell you how many retailers we work with now just because, like, as soon as Target happened, it was like, holy shit, we're busy for the next 6 months with just retail work. It's like, because they're moving forward to it. Now, it's reactive. I know you're going to go all like Calvary and shit on me, but okay.
No, but I mean, so you gave an example.
This one time I was in the shark cage.
Did you know he had a TEDx talk? I don't know if you knew that or not. So you gave the example of Target, and your wife doesn't shop at Target, but if we stopped shopping at all of the places that had breaches, we wouldn't be able to shop anywhere. I mean, there's a huge listing of P.F. Chang's just came out and said that they had a breach.
They have amazing
Harbor
General
Freight.
Towels, but
all of these places have breaches all the time. Is that our strategy for solution as the public? Is to say we're not going to shop there?
But I don't think it goes on to the point of if a company experiences breaches that you don't stop shopping there. I think it has to do with what were they doing in advance to stop it, and is it gross negligence or is it horrible security
You're all
practices?
wrong. You're all wrong.
Hang on.
Had they merely been PCI compliant.
Guess what? Drink. Target was PCI compliant. Congratulations. No, but honestly, if you look at a lot of how we breaches, how we respond. I don't like to point out specific companies, but eBay was a prime example of that. Anybody ever see what happened with eBay? So eBay got compromised, right? And it was for like months, and they didn't realize that they actually had access to the usernames and passwords, right? So they responded and said, hey, publicly that they had a breach. But they didn't send any emails out to customers. They didn't even put a little notice on the front page that something had happened. It took their PR person was literally on CNN saying, we don't have the capabilities to send emails to all of our customers. And no shit, a day later, an email went out to all the customers. I talk about a clusterfuck, right? So when you have organizations that just show that you can't respond in an effective way to incidents, I think that really hurts their brand long term. So, I mean, companies that have their stuff together and they still get breached, hey, it happens to all of us. There's nothing that's ever going to make us 100%. But, as an industry, we have to hold these companies accountable for what they do. I mean, they're holding our data. And it's our data. It's not anybody else's. It's our shit. So I really think you need to focus more on holding companies more accountable. And I think Target's a prime example. I don't think Target was any different than anybody else, but I think response-wise, they definitely could have improved quite a bit.
Okay, so
what was the question?
Yeah, I don't even remember.
It doesn't matter because I have a new question.
I'm going to drink real quick because of that.
Yeah. So
I mentioned PCI once, so
you mentioned PCI, but you also said something about.
He's got a question.
Companies be legally required to disclose vulnerabilities.
Ooh.
Should they or are they? They already are. They are. Are you saying we should repeal those laws?
That's not necessarily.
No.
That's not necessarily true.
He said
Well, no.
vulnerabilities, not breaches.
Oh, okay.
So, right. That's the
Only under certain types of criteria. So you have 49 states that look at Social Security numbers as being sensitive information. You have cardholder data, which is more for PCI centric. But what about all the other stuff that happens?
Intellectual property is not required unless you're public.
That's right.
Right. So, let's talk about. Should there be some sort of
Yes, by the way. Well, kind of.
Well,
I'm not for big government, but yes.
Well, let's talk about a related question, which is: should companies be held liable for software vulnerabilities, or in the case of something like of a large breach, should they be held liable because they didn't do let's say best practices, because that's a nice drinkable offense.
I think you drink.
I do drink for saying best practices.
So should companies be liable if they don't follow best practices? Is what you're asking.
Or should they be liable for software vulnerabilities? Or in the case of a breach, let's call it gross negligence.
That's kind of a broad question. So if Microsoft has a vulnerability, should companies be able to sue them if they use Microsoft products?
Yeah, sure.
But EULA. I clicked on the yes.
But EULA what?
That I give you all my money.
ASLR. You can't get around that. It's fucking sweet. America.
All right, so you want to...
I did the last one, but I can do...
Yeah, you like to talk, apparently.
No,
Yes, fine, here.
If we built cars the way we built software, no one would ever drive again. We have minimum health codes in kitchens, restaurants. We have minimum safety standards in building codes. We have minimum safety standards in automobiles. The only area
you want a nanny state where cars cost $10,000 more than they should because of airbags that don't do what the first 2 airbags put in the car and a good set of seatbelts does.
In every mature market that has the ability to inflict harm, there's some level of liability, and it normalizes pricing and puts the cost on the least cost avoider. There's a public good argument for liability, and there's an economic argument for liability. It's the most efficient response to market inefficiencies.
What I have to say on software bugs, I mean, when we're coding, especially look at Microsoft, millions and millions and millions and millions of lines of code, right? There's bound to be issues and exposures. I think when you start looking at liability, if there's gross negligence in place where they knew about that and they still implemented it, and they still left it there and they didn't provide solutions for people to fix it, I think then possibly, right? I think you definitely have an avenue there to move it. I mean, you look at a lot of exploit researchers, right? How many times have we heard, shit, I sent that 4 years ago and they still haven't fixed that shit. And, it's still out there. And the medical devices is a prime example of that, right? You have the medical field, which has...
What? There's medical devices that are vulnerable? Get out.
When you have pacemakers that have Bluetooth in it, something's probably jacked. All right, and I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, I'm not putting a Bluetooth.
But it would raise the cost of the pacemaker.
They put Bluetooth in the first place. It increases the cost. It's wireless. It's like new technology.
I'm going to drink every time we mention medical devices.
But you're going to call the vote. Yeah.
But I think, when it comes to public safety, if there's really, if someone identifies an exposure, how do you fix that problem in a timely fashion to protect people? And if they don't do that, then absolutely. It's no different than someone going out and driving drunk and crashing into a car. You're sitting there with people's lives at stake. I think there's definitely a major issue there with software exposures if you don't actually fix it. Anybody can come up. We have some friggin' brilliant minds in the security industry. Just absolutely like Einstein-related mother efforts. All right, I was going to use a whole word, but I didn't do it. And they come up with so many creative ways that I probably would have never thought of if I was a developer doing it. So, you're going to have those instances where people just come up with stuff that you would have never thought of. And if I sit there and say, hey, that's brilliant, but my business model, I'm not going to really fix it, then F it, then you have an issue there. I think there's a liability issue there at that point. Otherwise, no.
If I'm hearing you correctly, you might have a good insight here. It's not about having a vulnerability, because everybody will. It's about how do you detect and respond in a professional and reasonable way.
Absolutely.
That's an interesting angle.
So we're talking responsible disclosure.
Oh, now you have to drink.
Oh, that's a whole different question. You're good.
Drink. What about responsible disclosure with the kill chain? Yeah. Can we do that?
Yes.
All right, I just wanted to throw that shit out there because
somebody on
it's
staff
mind
counting
blown.
the number of times he says kill chain so we can send the check to Lockheed.
Is it a next-gen kill chain?
Next-gen kill chain. Whoa! We got our buzzword for next year, everybody. Any vendors in here, please patent that shit so that you can start selling the stuff that doesn't work anyway. Thank you.
You left off the 2.0.
2.0, yeah. Next-gen kill chain 2.0.
I just want to say this is
thought
as much of a
leadership
shit
right here,
show as
guys.
I
Right here.
expected.
Ain't getting anywhere else.
It's not as bad as the PCI panel at DEF CON 20.
Oh, no, that was that.
That was funny.
That was yeah. One day you'll forgive me, Josh.
That was 19. Yeah.
It's Shaq's fault. I told you he wouldn't give me my pants or coffee.
What were you doing with Shaq?
Losing his pants and his coffee.
If you don't know that story, cool. Don't Google it.
Have you ever seen Shaq with the kitty, where he's going? The kitty's like, no, okay, never mind.
I'm still caught with Dave doing the little cat dance. My brain just went blank.
I can watch that for hours. Have you seen the one that has a song on it too? It's got the song.
The only one I've seen is the one with the cat doing Led Zeppelin. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's a good one too.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go with. Let's change topics completely and say let's go with soft skills are more important than technical skills when it comes to security.
God, I hope so, because I've lost all my hard skills.
No, you haven't.
I had a blue screen.
I personally think there's a fine balance.
I think we have the explicit tag now.
I think that's relative. Soft skills are definitely important.
You got to pick one side.
Okay, I'm on the side. Well, I'm on both sides.
You can't be.
Sure.
That means you got to drink either way.
I'm gonna drink
Fuck
either
no.
way.
If you don't commit, if you're not pushing code to get every fucking hour, you're not in security.
That's me, by the way. But I still have soft skills.
So you say.
You
You have soft.
I mean,
you also have soft hands.
we work on computers all day.
guys,
Don't get
on
callous.
topic.
This is getting
No, there's
creepy
no
now.
callous here.
On topic.
Sorry. We'll see. No, in all seriousness, if you look at we need hard skills because we have to have folks that continue to drive the research and continue to drive the industry forward. Because without folks researching and without folks, holding companies accountable, we're not going to be able to move forward. But we also have to develop the ability to communicate. And here's a prime example. The hacking community, I remember going to DEF CON at Lexus Park, right? And we're all a bunch of crazy-ass technical people that I remember ShmooCon going on stage with this UPS box that looked, like a normal UPS, and it was a computer that would intercept all the traffic. And my fucking mind was blown, and that's the stuff that continues to drive us forward. But, what happened was we had a period of time where we had all these brilliant minds and technical folks that could talk so technical and talk awesome on what we're doing. And so all these fucking sales folks and product guys and everything came in and swooped in and changed the industry moving forward to a little bit of one I would say is not so good right now. Now we're starting to get a little more educated around the soft skill side, and we can actually communicate to business folks and understand why risk is important and start to drive the technical side from a business stance. And I really think that you have to have a little bit of both, or a lot of both.
Yeah. I mean, we are arguing sides here. So
That moonshine's
I'm playing
really
a role.
fucked up.
It is. And
Jeez.
don't go.
Roofies are kicking in.
Dude, it's like it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Aside from Dave getting the Katie Couric show canceled.
So, funny story, real quick. I went on the Katie Couric show, and then literally 3 days after I was on the Katie Couric show, it got canceled. Completely unrelated. Completely.
We're in your debt.
How are you clapping? That was a great show. I loved it, I hacked a soccer mom on TV. Who else has done that, all right? Everybody raises their hands.
You should drink.
So we can agree that soft skills and hard skills are both important, but you have to look at what the bottleneck is. And we don't need the 708th Android malware talk if none of them have yet compelled action. So in his defense, the power of story, his ability to communicate in accessible ways on the telly, and use small words.
That's like a 1940s word, by the way.
I'm trying to compliment you.
The telly appropriate way? Are you from UK, sir? Okay, well, I'm pretty sure the UK invented English.
Australia's just a suburb of the UK, right?
That's true, yeah. Weren't you guys like the prison state, and then you guys all went free and then went crazy and shit? Yeah, I love Australia.
So in all seriousness, though, there's a few of us over the last year, some on the CFAA front, for things that you guys care about, like the criminalization of research, and some on the safety side. We've basically realized that we have to hold our nose, eat our lima beans, and accept the word cyber, for example. if you want to talk to people who that's their lexicon. So if you want to be an ambassador, compel action, meet people at their vocabulary, and elevate their threat IQ, soft skills, it has been the bottleneck, and you've done a great job with that. And the people who are trying to be translators and ambassadors, they're moving the ball forward.
Just as an aside, one of the things I love about the security industry is that there's a place for people with hard skills, and there's a place for people with soft skills. There's a lot of need for people with both. But if you don't have any hard skills or soft skills, sales is always hiring.
I love you.
Oh, wait.
Or you can be an evangelist.
Evangelization, cyber kill chain, next gen 2.0. We got it.
Next gen evangelist.
Bandit.
So Josh mentioned the CFAA, and we actually talked about this on our prep call. And I just have to read the question as written because, well, and I directly quote, the CFAA, Computer Fraud and Abuse Act for everyone, is a big poop.
And I missed this call? What the hell? You guys are talking about poop?
This is what happens when you get stuck on planes and get shows canceled.
Yeah, that too.
It's hard to break your busy agenda, sir. I'm
Sorry.
So, which one of you four is actually willing to argue in favor of the CFAA?
I will.
Oh.
Well, I'm the,
Really?
Yeah, sure. Why not? That's what we're supposed to do up here, aren't we? We can't just all agree all the time. Well, then it's not a debate.
I can't wait.
It can't rain all the time.
I'll back you up on this one because the CFAA is fantastic.
I know.
For putting people in jail for long periods of time that commit barely nothing compared to a child rapist? It's fucking awesome.
You commit a crime, you break into computers, you go to jail. You cause damages. That's the law of the land in America. And if we find you guilty in America by a trial of jury, you go to jail.
Of people that
them's the law.
Of people who still have VCRs flashing 12.
You should ask your Fox friends about that. Don't they know a lot about the law and stuff like that?
Listen, I balance myself on all sides. Right?
Sure, fair and balanced.
Listen, I've been on Fox News. I've been on Fox News.
Fair and balanced here.
I've been on Fox News. I've been on CNN. I've been on Fox News. I've been on MSNBC. I've been on Fox News. I've been on. It's been great, right? I mean, listen, that shit is so vague that literally, if you breathe on a computer, you could be hit with the CFA. It's bullshit. Sorry. Right.
Hey, it's very modern, though. It was designed and scrutinized in 1984, and it's held the test of time.
There's no irony in the 1984 bit.
When people were hacking muds on those BBSs and shit, we needed that.
Honestly, but I mean, in a serious note,
this is pretty good.
Yes, it is.
Especially after half a bottle of that.
Yeah, well, that's probably why it tastes so good right now.
It's all relative.
Lots of people do lots of computer security research and don't go to jail. Lots of us do. You haven't gone to jail. I haven't gone to jail. Many of the people in this room haven't gone to jail. You can name a small handful of people that have gone to jail under CFAA.
All right,
legalize it.
So when I did reconnaissance on healthcare.gov, okay, so I testified in front of Congress twice, and if you saw any of the security news about security issues in healthcare.gov or whatever, that was us doing the research, right? When I was in front of Congress, those guys were like, "You hacked Obamacare." I'm like, dude, I fucking Googled shit. That was it. But seriously though,
the legal system worked. You didn't go to jail.
Not yet. Fuck.
But
I don't know.
Right,
I got a text message right now saying, "Hey, get a lawyer because you're probably fucking going to court for that stuff."
You don't have a lawyer yet?
Listen, all I know is that
he has Jeffrey Carr on his side.
All I know that is when it was being argued, I found out some very good revelations about healthcare.gov that it's a one big honeypot and that it wasn't really vulnerable; it was just a big honeypot.
And you still didn't go to jail. The conversations about the CFAA, not all your work and all your media exposure.
So you don't think that. For any time, if one of those congresswomen or congressmen, specifically Congresswoman Edwards, did not like me, just want to throw that out there.
She was a fan of Katie Couric.
She's why Katie Couric got canceled.
Retribution.
Don't vote. No, I'm kidding. What was interesting though is if they wanted to pursue that and take me to court, they absolutely could have. And to be honest with you, who knows with the CFAA, if that interpretation would have been used against me to do it. And I was just trying to fucking say, listen.
All I hear is, if they did this, if I did this, if I did this, but you're still not in jail. They didn't do it. So why are we so concerned about this law?
Listen, all I know is that in
But they haven't.
All I know is in the security industry, you have a clear distinction between people that are trying to do the right and people that are trying to do the bad.
Oh, wait, that's clear. So you'll be on the wireless at the Rio.
Do I know everybody that's on the Rio?
Yeah.
They're good or bad?
Wait, there's
I want to say something about really great about CFAA. And here's what I will say that's fantastic about the CFAA, is that it's so fucked up, it's finally galvanized this community to realize we have to become political.
Yeah.
Speaking of soft skills.
How's that? Hello. You're talking to
this
people.
shit is good. Yeah. Tennessee honey, I never had. I hate whiskey, but this is great. It's probably because of me.
All right, so for those of you who, if you want something even better than that, you get regular Jack Daniels and you put grade B dark maple syrup in it. So use maple syrup as a sweetener instead of honey. It actually accents the maple flavor from the maple barrels that's aged in.
Can I use this on top of waffles?
Yes.
Does it make a blue waffle?
Oh.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Seriously, you can carry me out of here? All right, so
After having that debate. Let's make one thing clear.
By the way, you all knew what blue waffle was, so don't even give me that shit. The fact that you all know that you're dirty sons of bitches.
You may have to explain this to us later.
Oh, you're getting blue waffle later. Don't worry.
Yeah, Google it. Don't. On your work network.
On your work computer.
One thing we should have said at the beginning.
Cyber Kill Chain Next Gen 2.0 Blue Waffle.
.com.
I mean, it's all shit anyway, so, I mean...
Take another hit off your vape pipe there, Sam.
Okay.
One thing that we should tell everybody before... I should have said that before I started the CFAA thing. These positions are not personal advocacy, all right? These aren't my positions. This is supposed to invoke really conversation. So I don't want any hate mail over me loving the CFAA.
And as a reminder, in speed debates, when we arbitrarily pick positions, our comments may not even reflect our own.
Or anybody else's. So I'm going to drink now because I support the CFAA, which is a horrible idea.
So, do we have any questions in the audience? No one? I think they're all drunk or asleep, so.
No, I gotta go. I wanna go see you.
It is. There's still booze up here.
Where's Angel?
We do. If you ask a question, we get to drink.
Questions.
Hey, they all have their disclaimers. I work someplace where they hired Marcus Random, so as long as I'm not more fucked up than that, I'm okay.
That was a challenge.
If we create these laws and they don't necessarily enforce them, they get us to accept the law just because they enforce it lightly, what keeps them from enforcing it heavily later on?
Nothing.
Thankfully, we live in America where we're protected from selective enforcement.
That may actually be the quote of the day, right there.
You know, I wouldn't say, the law's terrible, but I'd say a big problem, or maybe a bigger problem, is we don't have the legal system to interpret the crime correctly. We don't have the juries, we don't have the judges, we don't have the lawyers, we don't have anybody who's capable of doing it in a way that can actually decide whether they meant good or meant bad. You know, it's like you've got 80-year-old judges and juries that are picked just
I completely agree.
Somebody has to say this, and I'm enough of an ass to do it. The great thing about CFAA is it got weave off the street for a while.
Oh!
Okay, we have a question in the back?
That's true, by the way. That's a drink for good.
Would you support CFAA if you were truly tried by a jury of your NetSec peers?
That's a very good question. Would I support the CFAA? Just repeat it.
Yeah.
Would you support the CFAA if you were judged by a jury of your peers? NetSec peers, yes.
It depends on how you define NetSec peers.
Now, is it PCI? Is it QSAs?
Oh.
I fucking said QSA, so I'm drinking, by the way.
Certain bank robbers want to be juried by other bank robbers.
Right. And that's a good question. Go ahead.
Can you say medical devices 10 times?
Oh, Jesus.
Fail, 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 fail.
Medical device. Medical device.
Hey, I was told by members of the medical device manufacturing community that there are no known adversaries that would ever exploit any weaknesses in medical devices. There's no financial profit in it, so don't worry.
That's the only reason.
That works for
You turn this shit off.
Smith & Wesson and Colt Arms because no one would maliciously use their product. I went there, right there. You went there too.
America.
So,
Fuck yeah, America.
I just want whoever does the next pacemaker hack to call it Heartbreak.
And it's a heartbreaking marketing motherfucker. America. Wait, as long as it's America that it came from. Anyway.
We should actually be happy that there's no device security in medical devices because we can have an aftermarket that's $80 billion inside to make Faraday cage formal wear.
I'm just going to carry this fucking box around me and just be like...
And 73 billion of that market will be placebo Faraday cages.
I'm just waiting for the McAfee EPO agent for my insulin or my pacemaker.
No, but I mean, on the medical device stuff, that is a serious topic. I had heart surgery a few years ago to fix a heart defect that I has called low atrial fibrillation. So they, obviously
it grew 3 times that day.
Like the penis size got so large when they're doing heart surgery. I couldn't figure out why, but it was amazing. No.
Zero laughs.
The truth is, it got smaller or something. I don't know. No, the truth of the matter is, but when I was in the waiting room, I'm sitting there looking at all the devices, and they're all using wireless. I'm sitting there scanning Spectrum, and it's just like standard 2.4, WEP. Man, it's fucking awesome. I'm glad you guys are heart surgery me through wireless devices with WEP. That amazes me. I'm like, listen, can I secure your network before you operate on me? Is that possible? Like, just fucking go WPA with password at least for a little bit.
I remember that because you were actually recording a social engineering podcast episode at the same time.
I was on a podcast as I was getting heart surgery. For some reason, when they decide to operate on your heart now, they don't knock you out for some reason. I don't know why that is. I'm awake. That sucks.
So clearly, podcasting.
So that's an interesting one.
America.
Just remember,
I'm good at tangents, so here we go. A few months ago, a friend of mine was in the hospital, and I was getting ready to leave, and I hear the nurse outside the hospital room yell down the hall, "Does your computer work?" to the other nurse down the hall. And as I'm leaving, I see that the workstations can't communicate with Active Directory, and so they can't authenticate.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
But AD always...
The workstations open the drawer that has the medicines in the intensive care unit. So fuck security, people are dying. And we need to balance that, right? We need to balance that. But what WEP does is it's the worst, right? It puts a hurdle in the way that is ineffective. And they don't understand. We got security. You have bad security. Take all the security away so that the nice lady who is trying to save the patient's life or give them their morphine so that their life sucks less or whatever can do her job, or give them effective security. And that's industry is whatever.
Is that not uniform across
I need more tangents. Here's a pro tip for you. When you have surgeries or whatever, you want a nurse. This is sexist and ageist and everything else. I want my nurse in the hospital, because I get to do that a lot because I'm old. I want nurses
still hot though
that are like
fucking hot.
The waitresses that I want to see in diners. They're not young. They're not slender. They call everybody hun. And they've seen everything and they take good care of you. That's my...
But, just remember, WEP or not, the MRI machine down the hall is still running Sonos 403.
Listen, fuck, I don't even know how to hack a Windows 98 machine nowadays, so that's fucking awesome. Because I would be like, what?
I saw one running Windows ME.
Windows 7, perfect. Thank you, PowerShell. Great.
So
that's okay, no one can hack Windows ME.
That are all vulnerable. Yep. Anyone can walk in and probably kill someone. It's not happening.
We don't know that, though. We don't know that's not happening.
We don't know. It's highly unlikely. It's never been documented. There were deaths from the anthrax that got sent through the mail that were not documented as deaths. In my opinion, I have no inside information on this. However, what you need to know is the post office power washed all the mail handling facilities before they were inspected for anthrax. So if there was an 84-year-old woman in your neighborhood who just sort of died, how do you know it wasn't anthrax? We don't know. I mean, it's trying to prove a negative.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things
just to the point you made earlier, Dick Cheney had Bluetooth turned off because he saw it as a real threat.
One of the things if you're a coroner and you come in with a pacemaker and you're dead,
That's really good. Try this?
You had a bad ticker. The coroner looks at you and goes, you had a bad ticker, you're going to die eventually anyway. They don't ever bother to look at the medical device, nor does the medical device have any forensic evidence on it. So you can't do anything even if you thought you were suspicious of it. There's no breadcrumbs to follow there. So
a slightly different answer to your question. I feel more comfortable if they can't do it if they want to, than if the only thing protecting me is the willpower of everyone being nice and sane. I just think we're getting too close to being at the mercy of someone else's will. So I'd like healthier separation than that. We don't have to argue whether or not people have died from hacking or not. I'd like to make it harder for them to do so if they chose.
Okay, and we're out of time, actually. And there's still booze.
Thank God. I mean...
Blue waffle.
2.0.
That's what I got. 2.0 next gen APT cyber kill chain shit 1.2.
Thank you all for coming, and thank our panelists, please.
Thank you.
If you have more questions and things, we'll be